What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about it. And I'm doing this video because I want to share the second phone call that I had with Social Security Tribunal employee Susan Graves. This lawyer, former deputy director, Crown attorney, handled my appeal regarding the COVID emergency money that the government threw at us in 2020. Back in 2020, a lot of us from Ontario that were working, we were forced and told we had to stay home for 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Basically with my situation, I lost over 70% of my income for, I think it was 7 weeks. They threw this $2,000 emergency funding at us. They never told us we had to pay it back. We never signed anything saying that we would pay it back. And basically 2 years later, they sent me a bill saying I owed this $2,000 back. So I appealed it, and it sat there for 3 years. And I inquired, I remember in 2025, I inquired a bunch of times about like, what is going on with this appeal? And they would just ignore me. I remember calling in and waiting on the phone for friggin' hours at times, when you add everything up, and you wouldn't get anywhere. But then it got to a point where I had two appeals in after that $28,000 appeal that they waived. I appealed the remaining money was the $3,000 that they had gone back. At that time, it was about 4 years. And they said, "Oh, I made two mistakes on two different jobs I was working at. Basically, the first week when I went back to work, I didn't receive any money, so I put my claim in that I didn't receive any money. I think it was Tammy, that investigator, who educated me that you have to claim, although you didn't receive money, you still worked and earned money." So I learned that from speaking with the investigator who waived that $28,000 owing amount that Tyrell Alexander put on me. So I ended up appealing that additional $3,000. I ended up appealing that they had overturned their decision, saying that I did provide misleading and false information. And then I had this third appeal with this COVID money. So around the same time, they finally assigned someone, a guy named Muhammad. When I spoke to Muhammad, it was like September, I think, last year, around then. He wouldn't remove the $3,000 owing amount, so he wouldn't remove that. He wouldn't remove the COVID money, but he did reverse the providing misleading and false information during a claim. So the fact that they overturned that, then that means they should have overturned the $3,000 owing money, because they said I owed the $3,000 because they went back 5 years because I provided misleading and false information. But I didn't. It was an honest mistake. Service Canada they overturned that appeal and deemed that it was an honest mistake. It wasn't misleading. So that was a wash. But then it was this, what do you call it? This COVID money that I was appealing. So this video is going to be about that appeal. I'm going to be including a conversation with Susan Graves from the Social Security Tribunal. This was there was two appeals and one phone call. So this is kind of like part 2 to that phone call. My argument in my appeal in this conversation was, like I said earlier in this video, I did not sign anything saying I would pay back that $2,000. They threw it at us. They forced us to stay home for 7 weeks. And apparently, so the CBC reports this. that the CRA gave out $84 billion in COVID-19 benefits. There is roughly $10 billion still owed from individuals, from ineligible recipients. And who is exempt from paying back this COVID emergency money? Municipalities, crown corporations, public schools, and hospitals is what I found. But how many people skimmed off the top on these COVID benefits? We all know this whole COVID was a sham. Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Gates, you got people like Justin Trudeau pushing this on people. Justin Trudeau's his net worth when he started with the Liberals was like $1 million. Now it's somewhere around $90 million. This horrible human being, Justin Trudeau, he invested in the COVID vaccine. There was an ingredient, there was something he invested in. This is where he made his money off of. And that's why he was pushing it on people. This whole COVID bullshit destroyed lives. How many employers out there forced their employees to either get the vaccine or stayed employed? How about the traveling, the concerts? I honestly don't know how half of these people are still walking around, breathing, or not locked up, because this was a complete scam. This destroyed our world. This COVID-19 destroyed our country, Canada. And there are so many people out there that skimmed off the top, that stole this COVID money relief. And what does the government do? They're sticking it to the everyday Joe Schmo like you and me. And this is exactly what Susan Graves did. You're going to hear in the phone call, I had legitimate reasons why I shouldn't pay that money back. It was simple. I never agreed to paying it back. They threw the money at us. I was never warned. I might have to pay the money back. If there was any fair warning, I wouldn't have taken that money. But they told us to stay home for 6-7 weeks. I lost 70% of my income, and it was absolutely bullshit. And when I did take those 2 COVID vaccines, I was violently sick. I was sick to my stomach. I remember I was off work for almost a week on both times taking those vaccines, those dangerous, deadly vaccines. And I wish I never took it, but it's because of people like Justin Trudeau and these ding-dong health ministers and the people that work in the health ministry that brainwashed everybody. All the senior citizens, they thought they were doing a good thing. All these people thought they were patriots taking these vaccines. We all know how dangerous they are. And now if you look at Health Canada, they sealed the records for 15 years because they know they've done something wrong. And when is there going to be accountability for this very, very corrupted Liberal government in Canada? So I'm going to leave that. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to play the phone call right now with Susan Graves, who's a lawyer, former deputy director, attorney general. And she basically dismissed my appeal. So I want you guys to listen to this phone call. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Did Susan Graves do a good job? Was she fair? Did I have a valid argument when I spoke to her? And just let me know what you guys think about the conversation I had with the Social Security Tribunal appealing this COVID emergency money that pretty much took 5 years to finally respond, to get back to me, right? So again, thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. And I'm just here trying to spread the good word. I'm trying to, every video I'm honest. I tell the truth. I got nothing to gain to mislead or lie to the public. And this is my life. And these people, this government just continues to just cause unnecessary destruction and stress. And I hope one day there's accountability. So I'm going to stop the video right there. And thank you guys for watching.
So then the second matter, I'm just gonna quickly confirm the file number. So that's the file number GE 253399. And this matter relates to the $2,000 payment that the commission paid out to claimants. That in the general scheme of things was taken back at certain points in time. Except it appears that the advance payment wasn't recovered because you were on the emergency response benefit. It was kind of colloquially known as CERB, but I think it was a separate, it was actually EI, emergency response benefits, but it was the same amount. You were claiming that, correct?
I was told to stay home for 7 weeks. They threw $2,000 at us. They did not say I might have to pay it back. I was not warned. I did not sign anything. There are probably close to 100 corporations who got CERB over $1 million, close to $1 million in funding that got waived. CBC News just reported one article, which is close to 10,000 people who were given, who were told that their amounts were reduced. So why? See, this is where the human rights issue comes in. I got to figure out something that I believe they're discriminating against me, or there's prejudice. There's something going on. Why are they forcing? They threw this money at people, and now they're telling people you have to pay it back. I have had this appeal since 2022. The last 3 months, I forget the gentleman's name who made the decision. Muhammad R.
That sounds right, but we can look in the file.
Okay, so I had to file a complaint against this department. I had to call them 11 times, and when finally someone got back to me, they said, "Oh, I'm not the person that is handling this. We're still going to assign somebody." The amount of teeth I had to pull just to get Muhammad to call me, they threw that money at me in 2000 or 2019, and then a matter of within a day they made a decision. And I think what they did was not right. Throwing this money at people, telling people you have to stay home for 7 weeks. You can't go visit your family in the nursing homes and this, that, the whole 9 yards. And now they've got the audacity to come back and do this to people while there's tens of thousands of people who have been told they don't have to pay back the full amount. Why do I have to pay back the full amount? I think that alone should be removed immediately, and my appeal should be accepted. I did not sign anything to acknowledge I might have to pay this back. I was not warned, and I did not sign anything say I would pay it back, because had this been put in place, I would have never accepted this money. And the amount of stress I had to go through with this process to get someone to finally talk to me, and then it took 5 years, and within 24 hours they made a decision, is unacceptable. No Canadian should have to pay that money back. Now look at our country. It is falling apart because of that administration. And now they're trying to, what is it, $10 billion that Canadians owe? Meanwhile, we got Mark Carney handing over $2.5 billion, $20 billion to Ukraine, and he's sticking it to us. This is not right, what's going on in this province. And again, the ultimate remedy is to go public, which I have been. I have a substantial amount of following with going public, sharing everything in an honest, factual experience. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but now this Social Security experience is tied into this whole CERB payback and this whole other experience. And no Canadian should have to pay back that money. And if they do, every Canadian should be treated the same and get some type of reduction. Whereas with me, they didn't, but other Canadians did. Because I believe this all falls back on that Tyrell experience, and they have to protect them from what the abuse that I endured. So if there's anything that I signed before you saying that I agree to pay this money back, then it's fair to pay it back. But if there's no signatures acknowledging this might have to pay back, you have to. I should not have to pay it back. Plain and simple.
Right, so, again, I want to make sure I'm getting everything correct in the file. So you applied, it looks like for EIERB on April 5, 2020. Does that sound right?
I don't even remember. We're going back almost 6 years now.
Right.
I don't recall.
All right, can you just go here?
You can mention the numbers to me. I can just say, sure, agree. I don't recall these details. All I know is we were forced to stay home. We were muscled into taking that vaccine. You know, like,
All right, sorry, can you see my screen?
I can. What is this?
Yeah. So this is just the GD3 file. So these are all the documents in the commission's reconsideration.
So
Um,
in there that I signed or acknowledged I would pay that money back?
Firstly, I need to make sure I'm getting all the facts straight. So this is the application that you made. So it looks like you were working until right up just before April 5th, until early April. So it looks like you were, yeah, so it looks like you had worked, this says June 4th. Oh, sorry, this is April 6th. Okay, so you worked up to April 6th. So you were working the beginning of COVID, the COVID lockdown period, it looks like, or you being paid at least at the very beginning. Is that right? Remember?
I, I believe so.
Okay. Um, and it seems that you had a recall date at that time. Maybe you'll see that. So this is the application that they're showing. They received it on April 9th, but it would have been effective April 5th. And you had applied for sickness benefits then, correct? Do you remember?
Don't I don't remember any of these things.
Okay. Nothing really turns on that.
I
Um,
just I know, did I sign anything saying like, was I warned? Am I acknowledging anything that I might have to or have to pay that money back? I think this is what it boils down to.
so your one of your key arguments is that you didn't sign. I haven't read it.
Well, did I? Well, I think that's all this boils down to. Is there anything in these documents where I was warned or told I have to pay this back? And did I acknowledge that? And if that is not found in there, then simply this my appeal should be accepted. And so should every other Canadian.
So just the record again, I just want to make sure I've got all the facts correct. So, according to this record of employment, you worked for Guild Electric until April 2nd. And then according to the commission, and I know in the file, one of your discussions with the one of the officers, you said you didn't really recall a number of weeks, but just want to make sure you know what they're saying, that you received 7 weeks. Does that sound right?
Sure.
From April 5th up till May 23rd.
But
Um,
I think the argument comes down to, or my appeal, so to say, is where in the documents does it say that I might have to pay this money back? I lost well over $20,000 being forced to stay home. So $2,000 is nothing to the government who receives $400 billion a year from taxpayers. So if I just think that's my argument to my appeal, or that's my, I don't know if it's the right word as argument, but my, you know, if there's nothing in there that says I have to pay like this, that we were forced to stay home and to live in these lockdown, harsh conditions and putting this fear into everybody to take an experimental vaccine that got everybody sick, including myself. I've never been so violently ill in my life than when I took those two vaccines that are only good for what, 3 months, 4 months? I don't think any Canadian should have to pay back that CERB under these conditions by this government.
So the GD 320, this is the notice of debt that you got. So they sent this to you, let's see, I think it was 2022. So this is March 2022. Now, when I read in the file that you had a discussion with one of the officers, and I want to ask you about it because it might be relevant to.
And which officer was that?
Just a moment, and can you still see my screen?
Yeah, I barely. It's so small. It's on my phone.
You might be able to make it bigger on your screen, but I'll make it bigger on my screen.
It's fine. I'm just listening. I think like I'm just kind of. I just can't. It's so small. It's fine. I've lived through all this, so I kind of know just off top of.
Now, one of the things that the commission has done, and you mentioned that some people have had their amounts reduced. One of the things that the commission has done is look at whether or not a claimant had additional weeks where they didn't claim benefits when they could have. And I think it is referenced in your in the GD4 in your file as well. So, but I wanted to pause on this wording in your request for reconsideration. You said shortly after you went back to work, you told too big here. Shortly after you returned to work, you got COVID and you were off for a week with no pay. Do you have anything to show that you were off work again for a week with no pay?
If we were talking like within a year or two, sure. But you're asking me to go back 5 years, and this has never been asked from me.
Oh.
So for you to ask me right now, do I have that? No, I don't.
Okay.
Had I been fair warned that, hey, you might want to, no, I don't. You don't get paid. So this is how it works for me. Like in my trade, you don't show up to work, you don't get paid. You don't get sick days. I don't even get paid for holidays. I have to go work a holiday to get paid.
And I did see that you spoke with the commission. This is what I was thinking of at GD 313. So you spoke with an officer by the name of Ashley, and then you spoke with this might be this is the Mohammed.
Am I able to get a copy of all these things you have?
You do have a copy. It's in the GD3 document.
I think I accidentally deleted it.
Okay. So then you can ask the tribunal to resend the documents.
Okay.
All right. That's why I wanted to make sure you had the documents.
But out of all of those documents before you, Ms. Graves, is there anything in there that says you might have to pay this back or you have to pay this back?
I don't have those documents in the file, so I can't say whether or not there was a document or there wasn't a document. If you're asking me in the file, to my knowledge, I haven't seen any documents that relate.
Would it not be fair? And if they do not exist, I should not be forced to pay this back? Because these are going to be my arguments now.
Argument?
Yeah. These are. I think for me, I want to say it's simple. For the first appeal, they should not have gone over 36 months for the reasons given. This one is even more simpler. There's nothing in the materials that says we warned Mr. Dobson and every other Canadian that we are given this money as an emergency. They might have to pay this back or they will have to pay this back. I think it's that simple. If it's not in there, I should not have to be forced to pay this money back. Like, let's be honest, $2,000 was nothing then, considering the barriers they put up against everybody, the amount of potential income I lost, the abuse I endured from these employees, having to wait, what, 5 years to finally get a conversation, and then they make a decision within 24 hours. There needs to be an investigation into how these things are being operated. But I think that's I don't I like, and unless you have any more questions, I think that's what I'm standing by for this appeal. I'm asking for both of my appeals to be accepted for those reasons and facts and the sections of the act to apply to my situation.
All right, so the last thing that I want to do, and I do hear your arguments, the last thing I want to do is to go to the GD4 document. I don't know if that's one that you also don't have right now. So the GD4 document is these are the commission's arguments. So in the summary of what the commission is calling the relevant, they're saying that you received 7 weeks VEIRB. I think that's what you said as well, April 5th to May 25th. Then on April 29, 2022, they determined that you were paid more benefits than the amount you have to. So there was, oops, you still there?
Yes.
Okay, weird. It says Zoom is not responding, but it seems to be responding. Let's see. And this is the argument, they're acknowledging the argument that you're making today, so that the money was given to you, there wasn't any indication you'd have to pay it back. And let's see.
I just think, had there been any fair warning, I would not have accepted that money. They made it seem like, because like and I think we can all agree, the way that money was distributed, it was unclear. We were forced to stay home and be prisoners and not go anywhere. Everyone was scared. They didn't know what to do. And now, because the economy's falling apart, this is what they're doing. They're going after the little fish and saying, you got to pay this money back. Well, show me where I agreed that I had to. Because had there been any fair warning, I would not have accepted the money. 6 years of unnecessary stress and frustration because they never wanted to pick up the phone and respond back or say, hey, Mr. Dobson, we're still trying to figure this out. No. And then it was about 11 calls. I had to call in and they had to forward the message. And finally, Mohammed got back to me and determined, yes, I did not make them a false statement. It was, it was a mistake. It was not misleading. And then he makes a decision within 24 hours of this CERB. And that whole experience, I couldn't believe it. This is another service that should be investigated, it's, and here we are today, 2026. We're still talking about it, trying to get it sorted out. And I think the outcome is, in my opinion, is obvious. I should not have to pay these little amounts back, considering the circumstances and how they were handled and the potential misconduct, the potential unethical misconduct, code of misconduct. And I would hope that the reasons I've given, that my appeals are accepted, and I shouldn't have to pay it back, because at this point it's all about principle.
So I don't know if you can see very well my screen, but this is the commission's position. I just want to make sure.
I have a copy of that, yes.
Yeah, so basically they're saying that there was a maximum number of weeks that a claimant could receive the EIERB, which was also kind of interchanged with the name CERB. Could be paid for eligible weeks, and then claimants with a claim established before June 15, 2020, they received an advance payment of $2,000. that allowed the commission to pay the EIRB in advance of the customary time. It was the equivalent of 4 weeks. And then what happened was that they had a sort of a program where they would bring it back, take it back in parts. So the first week, 2-week disentitlement was imposed after the 12th week, and the second one after the 17th week. So that's what they did if people were on the EIRB for longer.
But that's fine, and that's all fine and dandy. But where does it say that this amount has to be paid back prior to accepting it? They did not properly explain to the public about what they're doing right now to people. There was no fair warning, Ms. Graves. And there should have been. This falls on the government, and that they should have thought about this more thoroughly. They should not have forced the public to take an experimental vaccine. They should not have threw money on people like this and then pick and choose who's going to pay it back. It's pretty much majority of the corporations who received up to $1 million in COVID funding. They get a clean slate. Why can't I get a clean slate? This seems like it's like a human rights issue. I think in good faith, the government should be like, hey, you're right. You know, people like Mr. Dobson bring up a good point. Okay. We did give out this money. It wasn't clear. And now we're asking to pay it back while we hand out tens of billions of dollars to countries that need help when our citizens who are working their butts off every day need it the most. This country is collapsing because of this type of financial mismanagement. It's simple, Ms. Graves. It comes down to, was there a fair warning? Did Mr. Dobson, was there an acknowledgement letter sent out that the money has to be paid back? No, there wasn't. Then he shouldn't have to pay it back. Plain and simple. You know what? And then next time this happens, because it will, they'll do this a little bit differently. They will warn the public that you may have to pay this back, or you will have to pay this back. This is unacceptable. What they're doing on a daily basis, and there's no accountability. And I think the points I've brought up is in the public's best interest, and that even this conversation is released to the public, because people will agree with me. The points I'm bringing up are valid, and there's probably 100,000 other Canadians out there that are saying the same thing, and they're getting denied fair service. If this is all supposed to be fair, then I think the points I've brought up are fair and they're valid.
I've already touched on this with you, but this is on page GD4, page 4. The commission says that they have agreed, now this is a policy they developed, to consider any eligible weeks in the EIRB period that could be applied to offset the advance payment. I think you've already said you don't have any recollection or any details about any other weeks that you might have been eligible.
And this is the problem with dragging this type of stuff out. Most people are not going to have these things, and there's been no fair warning, and no one's going to keep these things after 6 years. This is the other problem. The time has run out long time ago to properly and fairly address these things. It's going to be very difficult for someone to have these things that you're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a waiting game, a frustrated waiting game that people are fed up, are playing this game with the government. I think everything I've brought up should be enough to hopefully have strong merit to accept my appeal and say, yeah, miss, that's what I'm hoping for here.
So those were all the questions I had for you. Is there anything you'd like to tell me?
Well, I think I think I've said it all, and I just think this is a conversation that's in the public's interest. Um, so I'm really hoping that you know can see what I kind of see in this situation. It's doesn't need to be dragged out like this. Me having to go through the commissioner, go through this appeal process. Service Canada, employment assurance was abusive. Tyrell Alexander, he was abusive. He was condescending. Ordered me to pay back money that ultimately was removed, and then I get my injury and illness benefits that I was politely and document with the documents. He was a jerk. He was a straight up jerk, and he does not deserve the privilege to hold that position. This whole CERB thing, it's simple. If I think it's simple. If there's nothing in the materials from the government, if there's no signature, there's no fair warning. Like you can go back and say, like they said, oh, 7 weeks, this, that. Like this is all confusing. It's simple. If I was warned, I had to pay it back. I would have taken the money. And then what? 6 years later, I'm still like trying to get some assistance. If I sneeze wrong, I'm going to be homeless. And now I got to deal with, so yeah, I think that's everything I have to say then, Ms. Graves.
So if there's nothing else you want to tell me, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna let you know the next steps. All right, so I'm not gonna make a decision on either appeal today. What I'm gonna do afterwards is I'm gonna go through all the evidence and the submissions in the file and everything I've heard today, and I will make a decision on both appeals. The decision will be in writing and it will contain reasons. Once the decisions are finalized, the tribunal sends the decision to both of the parties, so yourself and the commission. You'll receive it by email. The tribunal does its best, but it's not always possible. But we do our best to issue decisions within 2 to 3 weeks of the hearing.
In some circumstances, are you able to give a decision on the spot?
We do not give decisions at this tribunal. We don't give decisions like verbally, orally.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Either party has an appeal, right? So if either party does not like the decision of the general division, this is the general division that you're at right now. Either party has the right to appeal within 30 days to the appeal division. So there is another appeal after my decision. So I just want to let you know that. That is everything that I wanted to tell you. Is there anything else you want to say before I stop the recording and close the hearing?
So when the public requests for the audio recording, does any of it get redacted?
No, my understanding is no, you'll just get the recording then.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that this whole story is going to end on that the Social Tribunal accepted my information and that, hey, it's like Mr. Dobson brings up valid points. Like they never warned him. He never signed anything. For that reason, he shouldn't have to pay it back. And for the other appeal, they determined that he made intentional misleading information. So they went past 36 months. But later on, they deemed that he didn't. So for that reason, they should not have went past the 36 months because it was not a dishonest, misleading information. And that investigator, Tammy, was like a friggin' pitbull on me. She was rough. And I was surprised at the end of that conversation, she turned into a sweetheart. And I appreciate that phone call, but I don't appreciate that call with Tyrell, who put me through all this grief. And that whole CERB thing was, our economy will never bounce back. And it was all from the government handing out tens of millions, billions of dollars. And, it's, I don't know, pretty frustrating when I work very hard and our taxes are being kind of allocated like this. But without getting off topic, I think that's all I have to say for the appeal.
So as I said, I will go over everything and consider all the notes I've taken here too. And I do want to let you know that I can't consider broader issues, like the issues of, you know, why the government acted the way it did, or any of those things. I have to look at my jurisdiction under the Employment Insurance Act. I'm sure you understand them. And those
Well,
temporary amendments that they made, because those payments were made under temporary amendments to the Employment Insurance Act.
well, see, this is the problem we're having. It's like everything, like, yeah, it's I just.
Oh my goodness, I'm not sure if you can still hear me. You seem to be no, it's frozen. Oh my goodness.